Hey, what's up YouTubers? I'm Chris H. This is Tech You Should Buy. Now, when you're out shopping for a laptop, you have your fair share of options when it comes to, finding a laptop under $500. Now, most of those laptops come with a couple of compromises. And so when you're doing your shopping, definitely take a look at this guy right here. This is the Asus VivoBook. They're calling it the E403S. I know, it's a terrible name, but that's what they're calling it, the E403S. It's about $399, and I honestly feel like this is probably one of the best budget laptops you're going to be able to find, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you why. Go ahead and cue the Duracell sounding Tech You Should Buy intro. Even though the device is only $399, it actually has some pretty nice specs. It runs an Intel Pentium quad-core processor, Windows 10 Home, 4GB of RAM, the display is 14 inches and is Full HD 1920 by 1080. It features 128GB eMMC, which is kind of in the middle of a regular hard drive and a solid-state drive, but I'll get to that later. It features 802.11 AC, built-in Bluetooth, audio jack, one USB 3.0 port, one USB 2.0 port, even one USB-C port, which is nice, an HDMI port, an SD card reader, stereo speakers, and it gets, according to Asus, about 14 hours of battery life, all in a package that's less than 3.5 pounds. Now, starting with the design, Asus gave this laptop a brushed aluminum look. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still plastic, but it has a really nice brushed aluminum coating, which makes the laptop look and feel a lot more expensive than what it actually is. Now, when I first started using the VivoBook, it was a lot lighter than what I thought it was going to be, because I feel like most or a lot of Windows laptops in this price range are usually heavier and bulkier. The E403SA weighs in at only 3.3 pounds and 0.7 inches thick, which means you should have no problem at all taking this wherever you go. Two things that I nitpick the most on laptops are their keyboard and their trackpads, but I'm happy to say that both the keyboard and the trackpad are really nice to use. Asus did a really good job with the quality of the keys, the travel isn't too much, which makes the overall typing experience a pretty positive one, and it just feels like I'm typing on a much more expensive keyboard. I was able to get approximately 63 words per minute, which is about my average. The multi-touch mouse is also smooth with generous space and worked well navigating through Windows 10. Now, my only gripe with the mouse is that you definitely get a satisfying mouse click sound, which, everyone knows what that sounds like. It's just a little bit too loud for my taste. Now, if you're using this laptop like in a library, someplace that you need to be a little bit more quiet, they might ask you to keep the clicking noise down to a minimum because the click sound on this computer is just way louder than it needs to be. And for the display, like I mentioned before, it's a 1920 by 1080 HD display, and it actually has a matte finish, which you typically don't see nowadays since so many Windows laptops have touchscreens, and I have to say overall I was impressed. Now, it's not the best display, but for under $400 it's really good. Colors don't necessarily pop like you would get on a more expensive laptop, but they look nice while looking at pictures and watching videos. Now, I wish the display got a little brighter, and viewing angles were just okay, but other than that, I was very happy with how the display looked. The speakers, they won't blow you away. However, while doing some research about this laptop, one of the things that I discovered is that you can actually go into the audio wizard and change the default sound mode to movie mode, and that'll actually make a huge difference. It sounds a lot louder and less muffled. So if you end up buying this laptop, definitely go into the audio wizard and change it to movie mode. Now, going into this review and looking at the fact that it has a Pentium processor and only 4 gigs of RAM, I was a bit skeptical about the performance. I was honestly expecting some lag going on in between Chrome tabs and just wasn't sure how Windows 10 was going to perform. While using this laptop, I constantly left anywhere between 5 to 12 tabs open in Chrome at once and had no issues with performance. Also, using Adobe Premiere for video editing was usable even with the 12 Chrome tabs open in the background. The VivoBook also has a 128GB hard drive, which isn't a lot, but it does use eMMC, which is nice because it is faster than a standard spinning hard drive, but definitely not quite as fast as a standard solid-state drive. It's kind of right in the middle. Because they use this type of hard drive, it's soldered to the motherboard, which means you cannot replace it. Now at the end of the day, I kind of wish they put a standard SSD in this thing, but it's really not a deal breaker. I could definitely get by using an external hard drive if I needed to. Battery life was also really impressive on the VivoBook. Using this as my main computer, I got about 4 to 5 days of on and off usage before having to recharge it. Now, when I actually tested the laptop running some HD video on in the background, I got about 10 hours of usage before having to recharge, and that's with the brightness cranked all the way up. Asus claims that the E403SA will get about 14 hours of usage, which would have been great, but realistically, you'll get about 10 to 12, which is still really good. With a computer market that is flooded with the promise of getting the most value for your money, the Asus VivoBook E403SA actually delivers. Yes, there are some minor compromises like not being able to update some of the hardware, but those compromises can be found even in laptops that are 3 times as expensive as this machine. With the VivoBook, you're getting a 14-inch HD display with enough under the hood to meet your normal web browsing and multimedia needs, a slew of ports including USB-C, a slim and light aluminum design, and a great trackpad and keyboard that makes this laptop hands down a great deal for $399. So that's my review of the Asus VivoBook. If you guys maybe have a different opinion, let me know in the comment section below. Please like, please subscribe, please let me know what you think of these videos. Hope everyone out there is doing well. My name is Chris H, and you'll see me in the next video. Thank you so much, guys.